our listener, welcome back again to live interview. From the interview today, we are having our honorable guest. We have the deputy of the Sweden embassy, Mr. Gustav Dahlin.
That's
Did I say that your name right?
Yes.
Oh, awesome.
Perfectly on point.
Yes. And we are going to talk about just a little bit about Indonesia and also Sweden, bilateral relation. And after that, we will talk what's your favorite, what is your favorite things about Indonesia? Can I say that one?
Of course.
So what is your favorite thing from Indonesia anyway?
Oh, my favorite thing about Indonesia. That is a very difficult question. I have many favorites of Indonesia. I think just the abundance of beautiful places. I know that Indonesia, I think last year, or if it was even this year, was voted somewhere the naturally most beautiful country in the world.
Yes.
And I can attest to that.
Not
that's
more beautiful
true.
than yours, of course.
No, I'd have to concede that I think Indonesia is actually more. I think Sweden is a very beautiful country as well, but I think it's difficult to beat Indonesia. So the abundance of places to go in Indonesia and experience different things, and both in terms of nature, but also in terms of culture and people. It's such a rich place and a privilege to live here.
Thank you very much. I'll take that compliment.
You're welcome.
Anyway, Sweden's just or going to celebrate 500 years
Yes,
of
it's
National
our
Day, is it?
500th
Wow.
National Day tomorrow. Yes.
Tomorrow. It's really long, you know, you can see that many things that happens in 500 years. So what exactly the historical moment that you have from this 500 years? The meaning of 500 years itself for Sweden, what is it?
Yeah, so the 500 years that we celebrate is the coronation, not of the first Swedish king, but the first Swedish king to sort of unite and rule what is still Sweden. That same territory has existed as the country of Sweden for 500 years tomorrow. So that's the occasion.
All right. So you're going to celebrate it here also in Indonesia, right?
Yes. Well, it will be a very low-key celebration in Indonesia, consisting mainly of the embassy staff having a day off because it's a public holiday for us.
Oh, yeah, it's a public holiday, of course.
Yes.
Every national day is a public holiday.
Yes.
Everywhere. And so we're talking about the bilateral relation between Indonesia and also Sweden. There are so many things that Sweden's provide, right? And also we are having like a cooperation, especially in economical bilateral relations. So what do you think the average trade right now? How much for the 2022 and also the 2023, the target also?
Oh, you're putting me on the spot there. I don't know the exact numbers.
Okay.
Although that I know it's increasing, and that we would want it to increase even more, because we think there's great opportunity in the trade relations between Sweden and Indonesia, and it's really. We were talking about earlier the fact that there's been cooperation or long-standing cooperation between Indonesian and Swedish public radio, and that there's a foundation there for this very program, which I find very, very inspiring. But that has moved over now from that kind of development cooperation in the last 10 years or so to be dominated by trade relations. And where we see a lot of trades and services being traded both from Sweden to Indonesia and the other way around. So we have great benefits on both sides on this. But in terms of Swedish goods and services now coming to Indonesia, or where we see the greatest potentials is really on the sort of field of sustainability. So we have something that we call the Sweden-Indonesia Sustainability Partnership,
Okay.
where we try to work between Indonesia and Sweden on sustainability issues and the Agenda 2030 and the Sustainable Development Goals, but addressing them through trade and looking at what services and solutions and products can our companies provide, what can Swedish companies do in Indonesia to further the sustainability agenda.
If we're talking about sustainability, Sweden also provides so many kinds of technology that turns waste into energy, right? And one of them is like, I found it in Semarang. It's like the public waste all over the place. And then Sweden offering some technology to turn all those waste that has been maintenance, turn it into an energy. It's an awesome work, actually. So what is this cooperation will continue to be developed?
Oh, that's our aim. That's the main preoccupation, I would say, for the embassy, to try and further these kinds of cooperations or possibilities. Because, as you say, I'm glad to hear about the Samarang example. I don't know it myself by heart, but I know that there are many Swedish companies, not least in the energy sector, that do these, if it's the waste to energy kind of solutions, or looking at various ways of sustainable renewable production of energy transmission. We're very strong when it comes to electric vehicles, electrification of public transport and things like that. So that's the field or one of the fields where we're focusing a lot in this Sweden-Indonesia Sustainability Partnership, or SISP as we call it for short. So there we work in mainly in 4 different sectors. So it's energy is one of them, and perhaps the most prominent one, and then there's also transport, and there's a great overlap in between the two there. So electrification of transport is key, of course. Then we work very much in the industry sector. We have a couple of big traditional Swedish industry companies that have been in Indonesia for a very long time, and otherwise looking to come here as well, and work not least in providing sustainable solution services and products. And then we're also looking at the health sector. So that's sort of the 4 main priorities at the moment.
So what kinds of health technology that you will provide?
That's still an area where we're in sort of a discovery phase, but we know that there are great efforts being made by the Indonesian government on within the health sector, and also to attract more foreign investment in companies in that sector. So that's something where we're looking at right now, what will be the best niche, so to speak, for Swedish companies. But I think we have a lot of companies who are really at the sort of technological forefront, and where we hope that we can support them in coming to Indonesia and provide their goods and services.
So in G20 and also Asian Summit, you were not there in Sweden. In G20, you also talk about other than the ambassador at that time. We're talking about the environment specifically, because Sweden and also Indonesia wants to talk about the environmental issues that has been going on all these years. 1.5 degrees the target for 2030, right? In COP26 and also COP27 has provided. And the ambassador at that time also says that Swedes are very attracted to find more places in Indonesia. Is it wind turbine is one of the technology that Sweden's provide? I found it in Makassar. Is it Sweden's?
I don't know if any Swedish wind turbines are already operating in Indonesia, but there are definitely Swedish companies that are ready to provide a technology and that are looking at where the possibilities are within Indonesia to provide that kind of technology. I mean, what we can say is that one of the opportunities is ocean or water-based wind turbines, and of course, given the setup of the Indonesian country, there is a lot of water, there's a lot of wind
yes.
Around all of these islands. So I think that's there's great opportunity for that, also for technologies like wind power, and to in the best way possible utilize all these sort of forces of nature that are very prevalent here in this country.
So I believe this is one of the development for the regional cooperation between Sweden and also Asian, right?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. So Indonesia and also the European Union are both committed to celebrating the competitions of the Indonesia-EU Comprehensive Economic Partnership. And how far is the discussions goes?
Well, they've come very far. For me, representing an EU member state, it's important to note that the member states of the European Union have mandated the European Commission to carry out these negotiations about a free trade agreement with Indonesia. So they are the ones best placed to.
Okay.
Well, they are the ones doing the negotiations, and they are the ones that knows best where we are in that process. But as a member state, we're fully supporting those negotiation efforts, and we are hopeful and optimistic that they can be concluded very soon. I know that this is also the ambition from the Indonesian government, and I believe that the President Jokowi recently said that he wanted negotiations to be concluded this year. Then we know that this is a very comprehensive agreement that we're trying to negotiate. It's a lot of things that need to be agreed on. So it's no surprise it's taking, and it has been taking some time, but it would be of immense value, I think, or we know for both sides, for both the European Union and for Indonesia, to conclude this. So hopefully it will be concluded very soon.
Hopefully.
Yes.
Be concluded. Yes, it is. Hopefully, we also hope that there's a lot of cooperation between Sweden and also Indonesia being get into action immediately, including the wind turbine that we're already talking about, and perhaps more ways to energy technologies that we are cooperating with. But that's enough about the serious stuff.
Okay.
I just want to ask you something a little bit. What is your favorite? How long you've been here anyway?
I've been here. I've lived in Indonesia for almost 3 years now. I came in the summer of 2020.
Okay. So in 2020, right after the pandemic starts.
Yes, exactly. So
okay.
I came there in the summer of 2020 when it looked a bit like maybe we actually passed the peak of the pandemic and things were going back into normal. And then we all know that we didn't quite. It took some time before we came back to normalcy.
So do you already have time to travel around Indonesia for 3 years?
Yes, I have, of course, given that the situation with the pandemic when I came, of course, that was limiting. So for my first year at least, or even more than that, I didn't travel much in Indonesia. But since then, I've had good opportunities. Then again, this is such a vast country. There's so much to see, so many places to go. So, however many places I go, I will have so many places still left to go. But that's both, a frustration sometimes that you want to go to see more places,
Okay.
but also such a fantastic luxury that there's so much more to see all the time.
Yeah, so you have to go bit by bit to go around Java only, right? Because there's three parts of Java, Central Java, East Java, West Java, right? So have you been traveling around Java Island?
Yes, quite
More?
quite a lot.
Ah.
I haven't been all over Java, but I've been to all the provinces
All
at
the
least.
provinces.
Yeah.
All the provinces, really?
Yes, yeah,
Including East Java.
including East Java. Yeah.
From the way you look, I think you love surfing. Is it right?
Well, in theory, it's right, but
Okay.
I've only surfed once in my life. I did half a day of surf class in Bali a long time
A
ago.
long time ago.
I really liked it. I wasn't very good, so I think I kept falling off the board and hurting myself. So I didn't give up then, but I haven't surfed since.
So I believe you choose food better to feel the taste of Indonesia.
Yes.
What's your favorite food of Indonesia?
Oh, that's also a good question, or a difficult question. There's so much to choose from. I think, but rendang is definitely up there, and gado-gado, I would say.
Rendang and gado-gado.
Yeah.
Why is it so special? Why do you like rendang? What's the taste that you find?
Well, I think just that. It's that it's special. I've never tasted anything before that tastes like rendang, and then I also like the sort of history or background of it, how you would as I understand it, the process, of making rendang is so that it will
the philosophy of rendang
and then
itself.
so that it will be a food that will last for a long time and that you can bring for long journeys and so on. So
Amen.
I think there's a sustainability part too.
Yes.
There that's
it is.
Again that rhymes very well with what we're trying to work with in Swedish-Indonesian relations and what is really it's the most important topic of all right now.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Gustav Dahlin, for your time to be here in Voice of Indonesia. We will know more. We will find more about the cooperation, of course, later on. And thank you very much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, well, listener, I think it's time for us to signing up right now from the interview that we have about the Indonesia-Sweden's bilateral relations. Luca signing up. Bye-bye.